Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take this apart, just the transmission apart. So this one's pretty simple. It's just these 3 screws. Is it 2.5? Oh, there we go. So then this will come out. This is how you remove the gear. Now, I don't actually need to remove the gear. I can just remove that nut and then it'll just come out with a slipper clutch. But if you had to replace the gear, you would just remove these 3 screws. This is all you would do. So this would come out. And then the nut is an 8mm. So just make sure you have an 8mm wrench. So you can adjust the slipper, but that's it. So here, just grab it. See, is this my 8? It should be my 8. And then you would just loosen everything. You just need to hold on to the disc so it doesn't spin. And there's the nut. These are nylon. They do wear out after time, so you may want to replace those. And the way you will find out if you need replacement or not is the truck will start losing speed. You will hear the engine rev up, but nothing happens. It doesn't move forward or do anything. The clutch, this goes toward the inside always. There's a little pin that goes in there, so don't lose it. It's this little pin right here. It's just a regular pin. And then you get the disc. That's the clutch disc. And then you have the little pads in here, and you have all of that. So that will go there for now. And just trying to get some of that dirt. And you have this here. So now in order to replace the disc, if you have to replace the disc or the pads, you just remove these 2 screws right in here. And these should be 2mm, which they are. And I'm going to go little by little on both sides. Sometimes the pads will start coming out with the screw, and then will begin to get stuck with the disc. That one is set. Alright, now I need to remove this one. Here we go. Alright, so there's one. These are actually very good brakes. This will just slip out, and then you have the other pad right in here. So this is the disc. It's just a metal disc. And this is what makes it break. So if you notice that little channel, that little groove, when that is flat, there's no pressure, nothing. But as soon as it moves, it pushes that pad against the disc, which pushes the disc against the other pad. And that's how braking works. All right. So now we get to open it. So in order to open it, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws. So this will be fun. There's no more pins, nothing there. And these should all be 2mm screws. And I'm going to place them down in that pattern because I'm not sure if they're all the same. Some of these will be the same, just in case one of them is a little longer or shorter. So that one will go there. And all right, here we go. And here's another one. And there. Now these transmissions, I would say they're very reliable. They're very reliable for RTRs, but if you do have to replace them, Traxxas sells transmissions that are completely built, so you don't have to rebuild it. They're not that pricey. They're under $200. I can't remember at the time of this video how much. It might be 130, maybe 150, but it's a complete transmission. Just drops in, you're ready to go. Now I do not remember if they make one with reverse or if you still have to get the kit. The Revo 3.3 comes with reverse, the Slayer Pro does not, as of this video. So once you remove these screws right here, this will just open, and when you open it, just open it slowly. You don't want anything flying out, but this is it. So that's the transmission there. You will need to have access to it if you are planning on doing the reverse conversion kit. This one I am not. I have the bearings. As you can see, I mean, the bearings look new and clean. But if you want to push them out, you go in from this side. You just stick a tool in there, push it out. And then this one here, you actually have to pull it out this way. You can grab a little pick, start picking at it, or little pliers, something. Flathead screwdriver works as well. So this one and that one, you can just push. This one you're gonna have to pick out. But yeah, not a big deal. And those bearings last a really long time in there. This is what the gears look like. So once in a while they may break. I have not broken one on this one or the Revo. They're very robust. To be honest, when I had the T-Max, I never, the Classic, I never broke the transmission. The only thing that happened was, actually it wasn't even, it was before it was even called the Classic. All the grease just gunked up because there was a bunch of black grease in there. I'd gotten it used, so I don't know if they used to use black grease or if somebody added black grease, but it gunked up so it wasn't shifting. But this one, you can just grab this here and then just pull the gears out. Right. But these gears are very, very robust, but all you would do is you would just pull these out carefully. For the reverse, you are going to have to add some components, but for this, this is all you would do. You would just pull these out. Here, let me wait on that one. Actually, I have to remove this one first. Well, you remove them at the same time, but let me show you. So these will have a pin in here. So you just use a driver and you just drive these out. I believe that's a 1.5. It is, that is a 1.5. So you would just use a 1.5 and drive that out, and then this would slide out. These here, if you pull them together, they will both come out just like that. One of the things, the little bushings there, just make sure those are lined up. You don't damage them as you install. But this you can now remove, and there's another pin, same exact thing, 1.5, remove it, and then you would be able to remove this here. So I'll go ahead and place that there. And this, you just have this locking pin in here. You remove this, this will slide out. The transmission is in here. Now, you can also remove this if you have the little pliers, and then this would open, and then you can remove that retaining pin. And then this would slide out. But the transmission is in here, so when you're adjusting the transmission, you're spinning it, and there's a set screw in there. You would tighten it if you want to delay the engagement of second gear, or you would loosen it, so go left to loosen, if you want to advance the engagement. So if you want to retard it, tighten. If you want to delay it, loosen. And all right, here we go. That's what engages the transmission. So there's let me place this down here. There's a little claw. If you look in there, I'm not sure if you can see, to be honest, in there. And then there's that's the set screw right in here. So that set screw, there's a spring that goes in there. There's a little ball bearing, and that puts pressure on this little claw. So as this thing spins, that claw will open up, the faster it goes. And there's those two little pins, one on each side. So it can engage either here or there, either here or there, it doesn't matter. And the claw will just open up and engage, and it'll spin this gear, and this is your 2-speed. This is your 2nd speed. Right in here. So that's the way the transmission goes. If you ever need to replace that, this is the way you would open this up. And then you can remove this, it'll separate. This is the transmission. So now I'm going to go ahead and put it back together. And again, you want to just place these two together because of that lip and just drop them in at the same time. This is one way of doing it, the way I would recommend. And I missed. Well, let's try it again. There we go. And that is it. So one of the things to notice too is it does not have black grease, and do not use black grease. If you use black grease will eventually gunk up, unless you service your transmission often, but it's a pain, especially if you decide to do the reverse option. It will gunk up the reverse, and then your transmissions will have problems shifting because it will stick. But that is it for the transmission. So at this point, I can go ahead and place the screws. These two go here. And all the screws happen to be the same size, so I guess that is good. Go ahead and place the screws in the slots, and I'll start tightening them. And I'm just going to go in a circular pattern. There are rebuild kits for the transmissions. I do not know how much they cost. Right now I've not looked one up. Or again, you can get a full transmission. The Revo transmission will work and will fit, and it already has reverse. You would just have to add the shifting mechanisms to make that work. You would also need a different transmitter, because the transmitter that comes with the Slayer Pro does not have a 3rd channel, or at least this one doesn't. This one's a TQI. It's just a 2-channel transmitter. So you will need a 3rd channel to engage the transmission. And snug is all you need. There it is. So now that that is here, you want to make sure that this is flat, so it's this way, because you will be placing one of the brake pads there, and then you will drop the disc in here. And then you can place the other one here as well. Now, this is not, the shaft is not perfectly round, and that's so that the disc can spin it. So if the disc doesn't want to fall through, just rotate the disc a little, and eventually it's going to find its spot, and it will fall where it corresponds. Here we go. All right. Drive one in just a small amount, and let's go ahead and do this one. Alright, so now if I just hold the pads here, then I can drive the screws without having to worry about the pads moving, shifting. And here we go. And these here, these screws will actually stop right where they need to. Here, give me a moment. Let me just make sure. All right, so I want them to line up, so I'm going to move this one over here. And this screw, these screws are going to determine the amount of pressure that you put on the pad. So if you over tighten them, there's going to be too much friction on the disc. I'm just trying to line them up. I'm spinning the disc, making sure it spins freely. All right. I think that is good enough. And then once this rotates, there, it breaks. Could go a little tighter. I'll just tighten up a little. And that's too much. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen it. Let's loosen this one just a bit. All right, that is good. So this moves freely, and then once I engage this, that is locked. Good. All right. So now at this point, I can go ahead and set the clutch in. So this part, will go over here. I will install the pin first. So make sure you install this pin. Right in there. And then it goes into those grooves. All right. And have that in there. And go ahead and drive this in. Oops. And all I'm doing is I'm just holding this in here so that this is, I think I'm doing something wrong. Something feels wrong. I'll just double check everything. Nope, that is correct. Oh, there goes a pad. If you have to replace the pads, that's how you would replace them. You just remove this and then replace them. That's the reason why it felt wrong, but it was right. So this will go in here. All right, these will go in there. I mean, you can place the gear on afterwards, not a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and drive these in. And this should just be snug. Do not over tighten this. You can warp the spur, damage the spur. And if you warp the spur, it's not going to mesh properly, so then you're just going to destroy it once you run it. And I'm just going to tighten this all the way. And now, just going to loosen it half a turn. Alright. It may actually be too loose. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it a quarter turn. That's too tight, so I'm going to loosen it 1/8 of a turn. Still too much. That should work. All right. And that's it for the transmission. So now it's ready to be installed.
What? Oh, my hair! My arm! My rod!